is not over just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for July 31st, 2025, trade deadline day. The deadline has passed, and the Padres, in my opinion, got a lot better. I know that they gave up some stuff, and we'll talk about it throughout the show, but I think they got better, and I think that the Padres are the most interesting team in baseball at the trade deadline year in and year out, because one of my friends from Cincinnati texted me earlier today after the Leo DeVries for Mason Miller and JP Sears trade went down, and he texted me, I wish I had a GM that would make trades like this. And I think that we have to be a little bit excited about it. I think that we have to, as Padres people, as people of San Diego, the Padres are the most interesting team at the trade deadline because they have a guy like AJ Preller who is not afraid to deal prospects. And I think that's huge. I was known as a prospect hugger back in the day, like 7 years ago when I first started on the station. I thought, there's certain situations you don't need your prospects, but right now, and I said this earlier on Twitter, as soon as I saw the DeVries trade go down, the window is now. And that's what they're doing. They're also building for the future a bit, but they are helping this team right now. And last year, I keep getting the question, why did the Padres go after pitching when they didn't need pitching? And now that they didn't trade Dylan Cease and Robert Suarez, they have too much pitching. And the answer is, and it's a cliche, and I've heard it a million times, and I kind of don't like it, but I'm going to say it right now, is you can never have too much pitching. And last year, we saw that because we saw Jason Adam come in at the deadline. We saw Tanner Scott come in at the deadline, and the Padres didn't skip a beat. Their bullpen got even better. And this year, the Padres were able to make their bullpen better. They were also able to make their bench better. And overall, on paper, I will say, because these guys still have to perform, overall, I think the Padres got a lot better today. I think that they fixed some of the things that they needed to fix. And coming into the day, I saw these other trades going down last night, and I'm like, maybe the Padres won't deal anyone. But that was absolutely not true. When I first saw that trade this morning, though, with DeVries, because I have Jeff Passan on my Twitter notifications because I wanted to make sure I was up to date on everything today. And I saw that pop up, and it was the Padres trade. And I was like, click it. It said Leo DeVries. I was stunned. My jaw almost hit the floor, honestly, because of all the things that we have been told about Leo DeVries. He's untouchable. He's not going anywhere. Blah, 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 blah. Well, he is, I was going to say a different phrase. He is touchable, but that's not an appropriate phrase. He is a guy that could be traded, and he was traded. And I know that people are upset out there. I know. I was excited about El Mutante too. But if they go to the playoffs this year and they win a World Series, it's going to be okay. Even if they don't win a World Series, if they go deep in the playoffs, all of these moves were made for one thing, and that is to get into the playoffs and do very well in the playoffs. And I think that AJ Preller, one of the things that the qualities that drives people nuts a little bit is something that I love. And that's just the due diligence that he does when he's evaluating a player. AJ Preller is someone who is AJ Preller is someone who's not going to leave a stone unturned. And when I was listening to the press conference earlier today, and you can go to 97.3 The Fan SD on Twitter if you would like to see some of the clips that we put up. But AJ Preller is someone who is willing to take a risk, and he is also going to do it educated. He's going to take an educated risk. That's what I was trying to say. He's going to take an educated risk because he was talking about how he talked to Mason Miller years ago before he was even drafted, and he should have been a Padres years ago. So he finally got his guy. And this is what I think when I see moves that AJ makes that are kind of head scratchers. He knows more than I do. The Padres know more than I do because they have experts who this is their livelihood. I don't even know if AJ Preller has slept in the past week, but there is no stone unturned. And if you're able to get a guy like Mason Miller, who's on the team through 2029, JP Sears has years of control as well. If you're able to help out the team today and also help out the team for the future, I think that's a win. And sure, DeVries may go on to hit 30 home runs a year. He may go on to be a great player. But if the Padres are able to get to the promised land, which is a World Series title, then I think it's all worth it. And I don't think that DeVries is as close to the major league level as we all may think he was. I watched a few games with him. His numbers, he's 18 years old, number one. So he's got time. And the Padres don't have time. Manny Machado is not getting younger. Fernando Tatis Jr. is the best. He's in his prime. You got guys, Xander Bogaerts, he's picked it up here in the last month and a half, but you don't know how long he's going to be able to play at that high level. And someone might ask me, well, what about the shortstop of the future? I don't really need a shortstop of the future right now because Xander Bogaerts is the shortstop of this team for the foreseeable future. So they don't need to look for a replacement for Xander Bogaerts. He's under contract for a long time. A whole different separate discussion over there with Xander Bogaerts' contract. But when you are able to bring in a guy like Mason Miller, who throws heat, has a really, really nasty slider, and pair him up with Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada, that is a win. And now you can Mike Schilt has options through the roof right now. I know that's a very old phrase, but Mike Schilt has more options than he could have ever imagined coming into today. Sure, he was a part of all the discussions and everything, but the options that he has out of the bullpen now, good stuff. The options he has in the lineup department, really good stuff. Unfortunately, that does mean because they did trade for a catcher, Freddie Fermin, for the Royals, and we'll get into the Royals receiving Ryan Berger and Stephen Kolek in just a second. But he is already in an offensive, with his numbers that he's provided this year, or put up this year, he's already an offensive improvement over the catcher situation. And I know a lot of people did not like the catcher situation, but a lot of people didn't like the return or the price that the Padres had to pay for Freddie Fermin. And that is Stephen Kolek and Ryan Berger. Now, do I think that either of those guys were going to put them over the top this year? Probably not. And I did like what I saw from Ryan Berger, and Tony has told me that thing about Adam Wainwright talking to him about Ryan Berger in the game that he saw him pitch 3 weeks ago. And I've remembered that ever since. Ryan Berger seems to catch the eye of people in the know. And if Adam Wainwright is a guy who's saying, hey, Ryan Berger, that guy's going to be good, then I trust that. I really do. And so that is a loss. It is a loss. And when I saw it originally, it was only Freddie Fermin for Ryan Berger. I was like, okay, I'm sad to see Ryan Berger go, but I think this is a fair trade. But when they threw in Stephen Kolek, I'm like, I don't know really how I feel about this. And it all makes sense now, though, because the Padres ended up going after different starters. They kept Dylan Cease. They traded for Nestor Cortez, which I really do not understand, but I'm sure that there is a reason for it. And if you get better, if you accomplish what you want to accomplish this year, then this is all worth it. And I know there's going to be people out there like, no, it's not worth it. Our team is we don't have a team next year. Yeah, you do. The core is still there. The Padres really didn't have to trade any current major league players. Really, the only big name major league players that they traded today were Ryan Berger and Stephen Kolek. They also traded Brandon Lockridge for Nestor Cortez, but Brandon Lockridge wasn't on the big league roster, so he wasn't even contributing to the big league team, and he hasn't been for a little bit. So if you're able to get all of the guys that they did today in the trades and not give up anyone like a Dylan Cease or a Robert Suarez, I consider that a win, because those guys are actually helping you now. And the guys in the minor leagues are going to help you maybe in a few years, but I can't get past the fact that the window is now. And I said this a couple weeks ago on the show. The window is now. And that's exactly what they're going for. I don't know what else you can ask for from this franchise after today's trade deadline. I don't know what else you can ask for. Everybody's always telling me they just want the Padres to compete and go to the playoffs. I have a lot of people telling me I never even thought the Padres would be the talk of the town on trade deadline day ever. But they are consistently the talk of the town on trade deadline day. Which, by the way, trade deadline day, MLB trade deadline day is one of my favorite events of the sports calendar, because it's always kind of crazy. And this year it was definitely crazy. But I really, really like, on paper, what they did today. Because I don't want this to come back, oh, Skraby said he really liked it, and then all they did was lose. Okay, well, that could happen. I don't foresee it happening, but it could happen. And I think that if you're a Padres fan, the franchise helped, or the franchise paid off on their end of the bargain, which is we're going to continue to try and win. We are not going to cut payroll. We are not going to do what the Twins did and sell off almost their entire team because they're $440 million in debt. They traded Carlos Correa for that reason, because he's making too much money. Think about that situation. The Twins, at a certain point this year, were a playoff team. They've dipped. I'm going to go see what the record is. They're 51-57 now. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. But the Twins sold everyone off. And that's a position that I never want to be in as a Padres fan. And that's a position that I don't ever want to see happen, just because it's a decision based on the amount of money that you're in debt. And I understand that they still need to operate and all that. But if you're a Twins fan sitting at home right now, you're probably thinking, man, I wish I was a Padres fan. Man, I wish I was a Padres fan. I was listening to Sirius MLB radio earlier today when I was driving to the station, and they were just talking about the sheer the remarkable ability for AJ Preller to make moves without warning, A, and B, without any sort of feeling of buyer's or seller's remorse. And over the years, yeah, he's given away some guys that have made a big league impact, like James Wood, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore. But for the most part, these guys are not panning out to being the stars that many people thought they were going to be. And so that's why I'm not a prospect hugger anymore. That's why I'm not a prospect hugger, because prospects are prospects. I'm not necessarily as eager to get rid of prospects like Chris is, but I do think that in this season, it was the right move to do what they did today. And you bring in Ryan O'Hearn, you bring in Ramon Laureano, you bring in Freddie Fermin, you bring in Mason Miller, you bring in JP Sears. All of those guys I just mentioned are major league ready players. And that's what I was saying leading up to the trade deadline. They have to get major league ready players, because they can't afford to try to have someone come up through the farm system for the next 2 or 3 years. They have to get major league players, and that's exactly what they did. So in summation, I think that the Padres did exactly what they needed to do to get better today. I will say Ryan Berger and Stephen Kolek going for Freddie Fermin is the only real criticism I have of today. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not familiar with the discussions that went on between both teams, but I'm not sure how the Royals were able to get both of those guys. Now, I was reading about Freddie Fermin, and I was reading some of the things people were saying about him in Kansas City, and they love this guy. They said that he's been under Salvador Perez for a few years, and Salvador Perez is someone who has mentored him, and you want Salvador Perez to mentor a guy like this. But they also said, we knew he was going to be a starting catcher one day, so we might as well go and get something for it. I also, on the other side, when we get back, I'm going to talk about some of the thoughts on Dylan Cease not being traded, Robert Suarez not being traded, and maybe the missed opportunity that is not trading them in contract years per se. Like Dylan Cease definitely is going to be a free agent. Robert Suarez has an option, but we know what's going to happen. He's probably going to opt out because he can make a lot more money. And so the Padres probably are not going to get anything in return, but there is some small consolation. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Back here on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan, Matt Skraby here with you. If you would like to watch the show, you can, and all the other shows on 97.3 The Fan. Just go to YouTube and search 97.3 The Fan. And you can go to Twitter as well, at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy, Y. Instagram for that too. And then you can go to Twitch or Facebook, 97.3 The Fan, because you can watch there as well. We're in many different locations. So I had a friend text me in the break that is very well connected in the Bay Area in the sports scene. And they reached out to me because they are so impressed with AJ Preller. And this person is a big-time A's fan and worked with the media in that area, so knows a lot about the A's, the Giants, all that. But here's what he texted me. I think Mason Miller's youth and upside are being incredibly underrated here. He's 26, 4 years control, might have the best stuff in the game for a young guy. He's not a reliever. I like this line. He's a weapon. DeVries might be good, but he's 18 and in single A. They may... And this one, I don't know if I agree with, but he's hyped and he knows what he's talking about. They might have got the next Scooble, and that's if he can become a starter. The slider plays off of his fastball. Dudes can't hit him. Obviously, work to be done to turn him into a starter, but simply put, tools like his are every bit as elite as Leo Dallas DeVries. And AJ has shown consistently he doesn't just replenish the farm. He finds stars. He will find the next LDV, Wood, Merrill, etc. That's incredibly a powerful asset. Giants are afraid to trade anyone in their farm who looks good because they never have guys with star upside. I like that because I know that this person is not blown smoke. I know that this person's giving me the 100% exact opinion that they feel. And I think that Mason Miller, if he could become a starter, now I don't know if he can become a starter. And in just a second, we're going to hear from Dallas Braden, who was on the Braden Soprano show earlier. And he is the play-by-play or color analyst for the A's or the Athletics. I'm sorry, I'm not calling them the right name. And he answered the question, could he become a starter? But these are the things that I think we're not paying attention to. The 4 years of control. And the more I've done this job, the more I've learned how important contract control is for these teams and for these trades. And if you're able to get a guy like Mason Miller, who's one of the best pitchers or relievers in baseball, and you're able to get him for $700-something thousand this year and then not really pay him that much over the next 4 years because he's still in arbitration, that is a win. You're going to get Mason Miller possibly pitching tomorrow night at Petco Park, and you wouldn't see DeVries, El Mutante, you wouldn't see him for like another 2 years, most likely. So that's why I think this trade is such a good idea. And that's why, as much as I wanted to see LDV, as they're calling him, as much as I wanted to see him in a Padres uniform, I just can't look past the fact that it was going to take a little bit longer for him to get to the big league level. And we're forgetting about JP Sears. He's a lefty. Padres don't have any lefties in their rotation. And now they have not an embarrassment of riches, but they have the most stacked bullpen in baseball. Some may say the Mets, but I don't think that's true. I don't think the Mets have a filthy five or whatever it is. Fastball 5. The Mets don't have that. They have Ryan Helsley, yes. And they have Edwin Diaz. And I'm forgetting one other that got traded there. But the Padres have like 5 guys they could go with. And I'm not talking about the burger place. They could actually physically go with 5 different pitchers if they needed to. And so Yonder Alonso said earlier on MLB Network that he likes to trade because if you get past like the 4th inning with the lead, game's over for the most part. Obviously, they still have to play before anybody comments on that. But if you get to that 4th inning or through the 4th inning with a lead, you can throw in anybody. You can go Mason Miller to Adrian Morejon. Maybe you wouldn't do that lefty. Anyway, I'm just spitballing here. Mason Miller to Adrian Morejon to Jeremiah Estrada to Jason Adam to Robert Suarez. I don't think Robert Suarez is going to be removed from the closer position. I mean, maybe if he struggles, they could do that. But they have options now. And that's the biggest thing for me is they have options. There's no more of, who's going to pitch for the Padres. Oh, they're out. They've already used their good arms. Now you got to go with someone who's not as good. Now you have different strategies that Mike Schilt and Ruben Niebla can deploy. And if I'm a manager on the other side, I'm not afraid, but I'm thinking, what are they going to throw at me tonight? What are they going to go with? Who are we going to have to face? And then you could even alternate guys. You could even say, hey, you're going to pitch this night if we need you. And then the next night, these guys are going to pitch, which I don't think is going to happen that way and as clean as I'm making it. But I do think that the options are incredibly impactful for this team. And again, the window is now. I'm just going to keep saying that until the end of the show. Whoa, what was that? I had something playing right there. I don't know what that was. So I got to figure it out first before I go and play any more audio because I don't want the random audio. Oh, I see what it was. Okay, there we go. Dallas Braden, who pitched for the A's, who has been a guest on our show, who's a color analyst for the A's right now. He was on with Braden Soprano earlier today. You can go to 973thefansd.com for more on this interview. But Dallas Braden was asked about Mason Miller becoming a starter.
I think it's something you could definitely entertain. I think for Mason, understanding who he is as a human being, I know that he wants to be able to impact the game and the team's success as often as possible. And it's tough to do every 5 days as opposed to maybe 3 out of 5 days if things are going well for you. And I know that's something that he values, is being able to sort of account for the workload, meaning I don't want to say that he's extremely routine oriented, but he has a phenomenal handle on his routine and how to make adjustments in that daily routine. And so I think that would translate very well to a 5-day rotation, 5-game sort of routine for him to handle. But I do think that he has found comfort in the role that he's in. But just one more time, going back to who he is as an individual, if you tell him that they think that he can really help their team moving forward, meaning the Padres, in a starting capacity, then he's just gonna ask you, okay, when do we start? How do you want to go about this? Because I mean, it was his performance as a starter that forced the hand of the front office of the Athletics while in the minor leagues. I mean, it was a seven inning, 12, I think, punch out, might have even been 14 strikeout performance. He didn't allow a hit. It was utterly dominant. And from there, you're like, well, we have to get this guy to the big leagues. There's no other choice. It's swing and miss all day. It's power at the top and the bottom with the wipeout slide piece. I don't care how this plays. It needs to play in the big leagues, though, and that needs to happen now. So now that you've seen what you've seen and you know what he's capable of, I don't want to say it's, sort of a pick your poison. How do you want to deploy him? Because he's a human being, and he's going to take some time to get back to a place of buildup in a starting capacity. But I do think that having Mason Miller available to impact the baseball game or the series or a long stretch multiple times as opposed to just a couple out of the rotation, I think you like that.
I do like it. Thank you very much, Dallas Braden. I really do like it. I'm getting more and more excited about this Mason Miller thing. And maybe some of it is because last year I had him on my fantasy team and he helped me win a championship and he kind of came out of nowhere. But I followed him closely last year. And he was one of those guys where I was like, oh, that would be great if the Padres could ever actually get this guy in the team. And they actually got the guy in the team. And if he is being compared, I've seen some comparisons of his stuff, and some are comparing his stuff, not himself, but his stuff, to Garrett Cole and Jacob deGrom, which those are two big, huge names and very, very good pitchers. His stuff can be nasty. And I don't think that they're going to make him a starter this year. Obviously, there's not really enough time, and they have so many different starters. But I do think that this is something that they could go with next year or the year following that, because he's under control for 4 years. I got a text also from my fantasy baseball commish, Trevor. And he said Padres also gave themselves a safety net in case they lose Cease, King, or Suarez in free agency. Sears and Cortez, plus Darvish, Pivetta, Musgrove is still a nice rotation for next year. This team is much better and in a better financial situation, which I also think was motivation for some of these moves too. Let's just be honest, because they don't want to be over that luxury tax. But when I went to break earlier, I was saying that I wanted to, address some of the things that the criticisms people might have for not trading Dylan Cease and Robert Suarez. And that would be at the end of the year, if the Padres don't re-sign them, then they just won't get anything for these guys. And I'm fine with that. This is part of going all in for a title. This is part of going all in a season, is you just have to sometimes, it's an opportunity cost, I guess. Your opportunity to win a World Series, and your cost is losing these guys for nothing after the year, which I understand. But I believe the Padres can offer them a qualifying offer. Maybe not Suarez because of the team option, but Dylan Cease, like, they could get a draft pick out of this, and AJ Pelly's really good at draft picks. So again, I've been talking a lot about Mason Miller, but I'm very excited about Mason Miller, and I guess I've talked myself out of being so sad about DeVries going to the A's. But again, I just would like for this team to continue to win. And I would like for this team, this 2025 edition of the Padres, to make a deep playoff run. And so I am happy with it. I am. It's hard for us to know what a good haul is. It's hard for us to know if, in the end, DeVries is a Hall of Famer and Mason Miller is a guy, just a guy. I don't think he's going to be just a guy. I don't know about DeVries, though. At least we have some sort of tangible evidence at the major league level that we can go off of. All right, when we get back, I really wanted to share this. I put this in here way before. This was over the weekend, or actually earlier this week. But I want to share some thoughts about what Bryce Harper and Rob Manfred, that whole thing where Bryce Harper told him to bleep off and all that stuff. I want to share some quick thoughts about that. We'll wrap up some more of the trade deadline. More Skraby Show when we get back on 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris on The Fan.
Skraby, come on, man. You can pull this out. You can win it.
I don't think this team has a strike, but I'm questioning myself. The Ravens.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
They just played.
I know.
You'd think that you would know.
I do they have a stripe?
They have two.
Yes! Yes!
Listen to Quinn and Chris weekdays from 2 to 6 on 97.3 The Fan.
Clouds and patchy fog this evening with overnight lows near 63.
Weather brought to you by Staples. Have you heard? The Staples Easy button is back with even more easy. Press it for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos. Staples. That was easy.
At Carl's Jr., late birds get the bag. Build your own bag. After 8 p.m. for $5.99. Get a Cali Classic single, fries, plus chicken stars. Or get a spicy chicken sandwich, onion rings, plus chicken stars. This deal is stacked.
And catch up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Search for Ben & Woods and listen on your schedule to 97.3 The Fan.
PMCK619 on YouTube said, don't forget about Randy Vasquez. I have not forgotten about Randy Vasquez, although I did not mention him earlier. So, I mean, the Padres just have so many guys now. So many different options now. And I'm looking up at the TV. This is going to be a very goldfish type of, or shiny object. So we were talking about Key Brian Hayes being a red and how he missed a easy grounder to start a double play and how he's not a great hitter. Well, he just hit a home run for the Reds. So he made up for it. I just stuttered over my words. I'm Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Skraby, MattsKraby as in boy, Y. You can also go on Instagram, and you can go on, I guess, Facebook. I'm not really checking Facebook that much these days. Wow, I can't speak all of a sudden. But I would like for you to check it out if you are a Facebook person. I try to post in all the different places, but I haven't checked it in a while. PMCK619 also told me that if Dylan Cease turns down their qualifying offer, they get a compensatory pick. So there you go. Charles wants to know, who do you think the Padres should send down, Diaz or Maldonado? Because Freddie Fermin's coming in. He's you don't trade for a guy to not play him. You don't trade for a guy to not use him right away. So one of those guys is probably going to have to go down. And I know that some are saying Maldonado is going to stay on the team, but I don't see how you can use Maldonado over Diaz, because Diaz has been the main guy this year. Maldonado has been the backup to Diaz, basically. And I don't think Maldonado is going to hit, he's going to hit over 300 the rest of the season. I think we might see an IL stay. I'm not saying that we should. Sorry, I didn't fix that. There we go. I don't think we're going to see an IL stay, but maybe we'll see some sort of like tightness in the hamstring. You can stay on the roster, and then you can see what's going on with Freddie Fermin. But again, options. That's going to be my keyword tonight. Options. That's what the Padres have now, and that's huge. Huge, 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 huge. Side note. I played a video on the stream last time I did a Skraby Show of someone doing a Rubik's Cube in 3 seconds or 3.1 seconds. And I said, I could never do a Rubik's Cube. It'll take me forever. I bought a Rubik's Cube, and I'm going to do a live YouTube one of these days. Not on the air or anything, because that wouldn't be fun for the people that can't see the show. But I'm going to do a live YouTube of me trying to figure out a Rubik's Cube. I'm also going to pay off on my what Diesel wants me to do. Diesel's a YouTuber. Diesel wants me to play some of my old Skraby stuff from before the sports talk days when I was an intern for a rock station, and we'll get that done too. But the Rubik's Cube I'm really excited about. I was messing with it last night, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to look so dumb. And I think I might have to put a time limit on it so that I don't feel so stupid, like 45 minutes. If I can't solve this thing in 45 minutes, I might as well just throw the Rubik's Cube away, because I'll never solve it. But those are going to happen here. Those videos are going to happen here in the next couple months. I just don't know when to do them, because we got Padres baseball. I don't want to do a video during a show that's already on the station. So we'll figure it out. My daily gripe tonight is going to be about some of the things that I saw on my trip up to the Yosemite area. And I'm going to gripe. People have been testing my patience this week, in the last week and a half, and basically my entire life. But really, in the last week and a half, they have been testing my patience. I don't think people care anymore about people. I don't think that people have sort of any rules they live by in society anymore. So I'll tell you about that in just a second. But I wanted to get to this thought about Bryce Harper confronting Rob Manfred in the Phillies clubhouse and telling him to bleep off because he doesn't want to talk about a salary cap. And this could be an uneducated opinion, but when I hear about a guy like Bryce Harper who's made tons of money in his career and still makes tons of money and will make tons of money, telling Rob Manfred to get out, it's cool for you if they go on a work stoppage, Bryce, because you got plenty of money. But what about the guys who don't have plenty of money? I think that's a little bit short-sighted. And maybe Bryce Harper is going to fight for the little guy. And maybe this will help out the little guy. But it's really, 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 really easy to say this as a guy who signed a contract for like $300 million and all the other endorsements he does. It's really easy for him to be like, yeah, I can miss a season. We're prepared to sit out. Are you? Maybe Bryce Harper is, but I don't know if, let's see, I don't know if someone like Tyler Wade is prepared to sit out, which unfortunately Tyler Wade is going to, I don't know what's going to happen with him, but I don't know that there's room for him anymore. Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano now with the Padres. Both guys have hit double-digit home runs this year. Both guys have a pretty decent average. So I think that there were a lot of Padres today, maybe not a lot, but there were some Padres today that found out their fate, which is they're going to be sent down or they're going to be released or something like that, which I'm not a fan of. Anyway, back to Bryce Harper standing up to Rob Manfred. It's a great story. Like hearing about a star player getting in the commissioner's face is a great story. I love it, but I don't think it's the best message for the public because the people listening right now, for the most part, they're true baseball fans and they know how to handle this sort of stuff and they know what the actual truth is. But generally, I think owners are making a ton of money and should share it with the players. I don't think that that's a wrong thing for the players to want is more money because the owners are making so much more money. But when I was talking to my family over the weekend up in Yosemite, they are just fringe fans. They're not people that are going to be watching baseball on a daily basis. They know baseball, they watch Sports Center, but they're not a daily basis type of baseball fan. And they were very, very against the players going on strike because it's the narrative of, well, the players are just greedy. They just want more money. And so I kind of explained to them what is actually happening with the owners making a ton of money and no one knows how much money they're actually making. And they kind of thought, never really thought about it like that. And if you don't want baseball to be lost again, like it almost was in 1994, if you don't want people to revolt on the sport, this is kind of a Matt Skraby idea, but I think players need to do a campaign for themselves leading up to this whole CBA thing. I'm not sure what that campaign looks like, and it's a fine line, I guess, if you're doing a campaign as a player. It's a fine line between throwing money in all our faces and then also educating us. But a little education would go a long way. And again, I don't really know what this marketing campaign for players would be, but they need to reach these fringe fans and kind of tell them, hey, we're just trying to get our piece of the pie too. And I think people can get behind that. Like if someone like a Tyler Wade were to be a part of this and be like, hey, this is how much the owners make, this is how much I make. I think that would be, I don't know that the money thing, like throwing out money numbers, actual physical numbers is a good thing. Again, I haven't thought this all the way through, and I'm sure it's not going to happen, but I think that the players need to get ahead of this a little bit because most people think that the players are being greedy. Most people on the outside think the players are being greedy. And I don't agree with that. I don't know many people that agree with that, but that is a sentiment that is out there. So if they don't want to lose the sport, they're going to have to figure something out because in the day of social media, there's going to be a lot of stuff floating around and there's going to be a lot of opinion floating around. And that can be a dangerous thing sometimes.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Hold on. I just saw something. Okay. We got an update. I'm glad that Jessica caught me on the chat because this is news. So we were just talking about Diaz or Maldonado. Padres just tweeted, with today's moves, we have optioned infielder Will Wagner, who was acquired today, to El Paso, and designated Trenton Brooks and Martin Maldonado for assignment. So there you go. It's going to be Diaz and Fermin now. And Martin Maldonado is DFA'd. Sure, that was a hard decision because I know that they like him. Also, Trenton Brooks. And, I like Trenton Brooks, and he just didn't take advantage of the opportunities that he had presented in front of him, except for that home run against the Dodgers. All right, I got very, very, very little time to do this, but when I was up at the Big Trees National Park near Yosemite, there were clear signs everywhere. Don't step over here. Don't go over here. Stay on the trail. Don't climb on the trees. They're very old. They're falling apart. My daily gripe is the idiots that just don't pay attention. Why does no one follow the rules anymore? I know that some rules are stupid and they need to be broken, but when it says, hey, this tree is rotting and it's going to fall apart, do not get on the tree. We're trying to keep it alive as long as possible. People stepping all over the trees, people cutting in line, people driving like idiots, people who have no respect for other people. Like this one family, the kid goes, Mom, the sign says don't go on this. She's like, it's okay, you could do that. So the kid gets up on this tree and starts dancing on the tree. Sounds fun, but like, why can't people just pay attention to simple rules? Why have we gone so far away of just common sense? Like, everybody just does whatever they want. And I don't understand it. I don't understand it. That's it for the Skraby Show. Friday, tomorrow, Ben and Wood, 6 a.m. AJ Preller on with them tomorrow.
Hey, it's
97.3 fan.
There's nothing like the daily